Hello and welcome to episode 3 of Simone's Corner. For the first time in the channel's history, I'm joined today by our special guest, JohnyTheWizKid.
Yo,
How are you doing today, Johnny?
I'm doing good. I just woke up, but it's a nice day.
Today we'll mostly be picking up Johnny's brain about everything from nostalgia to internet culture to the struggle to make it on platforms like YouTube and everything in between. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So, Johnny, first of all, who are you and what are you all about?
Who am I and what am I all about?
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna stick with my pseudonym Johnny the Whiz Kid. I'm from Texas, and I'm all about retro gaming and retro content. Like what you're seeing right now, the camera I'm using is an old-fashioned VHS camcorder from the 1980s. And as you can see, the letters on the bottom left corner shows the date that used to display all the time to keep track of time.
Oh, what goals do you have for your YouTube channel then?
My goal is to create memories by recording myself reacting to video games I have never played and to experience the story firsthand. And that's how you make those first initial reactions that will probably make people interested in seeing how you are liking this game for the first time. And then that will show the experience. It's like when you take a little kid to a playground for the first time and you see all these amazing structures and slides, and then their first exposure to it sends a lot of chills down their nerves, and it's so exhilarating, and they are going to have so much fun. And that's the whole beauty of creating memories when you get to see them experience something for the first time in their life.
Yeah, that would be all about what this discussion is all about. We'll go into our question. So, liking retro stuff seems to be an important part of your persona online. So, why is that? Why is it? What is it about the past that appeals to you?
I'm not sure I understood the question. Could you repeat it?
Um, yeah, liking retro stuff seems to be an important part of your persona online. So why is that, and what is it about the past that appeals to you?
I see. Retro has become fascinating because when you're born late and your first exposure to video games is something modern like the Switch, and it's a Mario game, and it's very appealing, like you saw an animation movie or a cartoon with that kind of capability of graphics. But you have not lived in the past where our parents have, and their exposure to video games was something much more primitive. The graphics were very young and outdated with pixels that the computer classified as like 8-bit to 16-bit or 64-bit. And when you look back at it, you're thinking how this doesn't look as appealing as the games you're playing now because you did not grow up with those games. And my exposure to retro games was my was when I first watched Angry Video Game Nerd, and I have seen the first Nintendo Entertainment System, the pictures, but I've never played it before. And when I first saw it, I initially thought that's way too old for me. I like the 16-bit graphics on the Super Nintendo a lot more. You get more background colors and graphics, but what I underestimated was the challenge of the video games. See, the first episode I saw of Angry Nerd was Silver Surfer, and of course he was raging and angry over the difficult challenge. But there were some games that came before our time that you feel you wouldn't have these Mario games if it wasn't for the first console on that was called the NES, made in 1985. So it's one thing to like get invested into the graphics or the gameplay, but it's another when you want to feel when you feel um, like appreciative of these past consoles and games that made it so popular back then before we ever got to what we have right now with more expanded lands to explore and more stories, but mostly graphics and more levels and 3D roaming. So it is a very big deal to me when I first saw those old games, and he really made me interested in checking them out. And there were more YouTubers besides Angry Nerd. I watched RetroWare TV, and there were more YouTubers that were so passionate about retro games, and there were some that they reviewed that really makes the story so interesting that I just went crazy and invested all my money in all these games I haven't played, and now I'm interested in playing older games. Like when I was a kid, I remember Atari, and I was not born in the 70s. But my brother had Atari, and at least I was familiar with it. So even I'm a fan of Atari.
Yeah, maybe the same for me, I guess. I just recently discovered Andrew Video Game Nerd and get to uh, I'm able to look back at this cool things or how we can say that it's the foundation of things that we enjoy now. But for me, most of my childhood, I'm not able also to enjoy that much of those games. I spend my childhood memories mostly outdoors, so that's what I usually enjoyed. It's kind of a bit rural where I live in, so it's quite far from how things are now. Some bridges have been broken or just collapsed on their own, but it's fine. I take all those memories as a preparation on how should I approach things as they are now, probably. So I guess that's what is it. So moving on to the next question. So what are some of your favorite older movies?
Older movies. I remember the Terminator, but when I was a kid, it was too much for young people because there's definitely killing in there. So I couldn't watch it. I couldn't watch Bad Boys, but my favorite old movie was Independence Day, and that's from the 90s. But even though I was born in the late 80s, I grew up in the 90s, so that was more of my era. And Independence Day was like the most intense, scary, but action thrilled movie I've ever seen. That made me made it more interesting than Star Wars before I understood Star Wars and appreciated the lore of it. Independence Day like scared me when the aliens destroyed the Earth and there's a wall of fire and everybody was dying and screaming in fear. It really affected me. But when they were fighting back, it really got serious, and now I like, whoa! I start to have that presence or feel that the world depends on it, and you got to be more patriotic if you want to save your country or something like that.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I think I also familiar. I'm also familiar with those movies. Especially there's a free TV channel here in the Philippines that used to show all those movies from 80s and 90s. So yes, I'm able to watch those growing up. But maybe there are some barriers with the translations and whatnot. But for me, I think I just recently get back into some Rise Me Spider-Man trilogy, so maybe that's also a good the best part of childhood. That now, when growing up, you're not able to really fully understand this show, but you know it, you feel it. There's a connection in it, and now I think I already get it now. Why is it so feel great to look back at those memories or how those connection was built?
Yeah.
Very interesting. So so what are some of your favorite older video games?
My favorite older video games?
Yeah.
Super Nintendo is my number one favorite. My first was Super Mario World, of course. When I was first playing it, I never stopped enjoying that you run to the field on a dinosaur that has shoes on it, using the long tongue to eat stuff, spit them out, stomp on bad guys or turtles. um, and then when you get to uh, the further levels, it gets more difficult. That you really feel discouraged to continue because you don't know how to jump across. Your fingers like don't 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 have that skill to master every button yet until probably your older brother shows you how to do it, or I
Yeah.
just have him beat the level for me. But even he has to learn how to run across the field and get a greater momentum, just jump across cliffs. And even when you do, the hardest part is the castle, because then you're treated with a scary, ominous music with dangerous terrains like lava, and the bad guy on this big boat in the middle of nowhere, but lava's everywhere, and boy, your heart's pumping. So I practiced or watched my brother play a bit more, and then I get good later on. That everything's cakewalk. But um, I think I also played um, Donkey Kong Country. Well, not think I know I did, but I don't know when I got it. But Donkey Kong Country was another new, different game, but the same concept. Get to the end of the goal, but the graphics are more impressive. And well, I can't remember chronologically what game I played in order, but I love Super Bomberman. Then I played a game that was based on a TV show called Looney Tunes. I played Tasmanian Devil, and that was hilarious, but really, really challenging. What else? What else? Well, the difficult game I've ever played in my life was Contra 3. It's like Aliens, but intense and platforming, shooting everywhere at enemies that could be coming in different directions. It was so hard, and when I was trying to beat it on the highest difficulty, hard, I couldn't beat it. And so I decided, you know what, I'm going to cheat, but not Game Genie cheat. I decided to do something to give me extra lives. I didn't have a Game Genie, and I didn't know how to use it, but instead, I did something funny that the Angry Nerd one time demonstrated, where he needs all those extra lives to get farther in the game. So what I did was I got a wrench, clamped it onto the fire button, and leave it there overnight, and then keep shooting the same enemies until I get like at least 30 lives. I was able to beat the game like that. So yeah.
Clever. Clever. But for me, I guess it's not that old, but probably Pokemon Emerald, because it seems like I'm not really able to play this game full time, but it's become some sort of uh, a group work, I guess, with my cousins. Because there are some codes that we need to decode at some point. Especially the best part of it that I enjoy is the under the the underwater cave near the sky pillar, where there's some braille codes that we need that we're able to decode and get these legendary Pokemons. Registeel, Regice, and Registone, I guess. I can't remember really, but those are a good part of my childhood, I guess.
Yeah, that's cool. I have seen the Pokemon games on the Game Boy, but I never got a Game Boy or a Pokemon game. But also, um, as a gamer in the 90s, I was not invested in RPG games. They look kind of boring. But when I was exposed to Super Mario RPG, that changed everything. I guess it worked when gamers were not interested in those kinds of games where you take turns attacking and then do some math to deplete the hit points of the enemy. They decided to use familiar characters that Americans were more fans of, and then put that formula in, or put those characters in that formula of this game, and then get them to play the game, and then that definitely worked. So some were interested, were in interested in Dragon Quest, but in the US it was called Dragon Warrior. There were 4 of them released, and then Final Fantasy. And sure, it was popular, but not all RPGs were distributed in North America because it didn't catch on quite effectively. But there had to be a strategy. You had to learn what do Americans like more than what Japanese do. So I think I saw a video of the news talking about in Japan, people were getting in line for RPG games like Dragon Quest. But for Americans, they like side-scroller action like Mario Brothers and Zelda, or The Adventure of Link, whichever. But anyway, Americans were different. They read enough in school, and their free time was more invested into action than reading a story. So that's why when you want to bring something popular from Japan in North America, you gotta know what the Americans like more, and then use that into this formula to get them to try this new experience. And it worked for me with Super Mario RPG. For the first time, you see Bowser and Ally. That has never happened, and I didn't think it would ever happen. But I was always a big Bowser fan because I love Ninja Turtles, and Bowser was the coolest turtle dragon looking character I've ever seen that breathes fire. But the spikes were the most appealing feature on this character. So yeah, RPG was a very difficult formula, or a difficult genre to get me invested. But with the Mario characters, it worked, and then I got to play Final Fantasy VII with those awesome looking graphics in this new awesome world. Whoa, we went a long way, but now we're so invested in those things. So anything RPG now is like reading a book, and it's better than reading a book, you know?
Yeah, yeah. So, to compare it with now, how do you feel about the state of entertainment today in the year 2021?
How do I feel about the entertainment today?
Yeah, yeah. It is. We're talking about some stuff that are from the past century or previous scenarios, I guess. But for now, to compare it with how do you feel about the state of entertainment today in the year 2020, the present day? Compare it with those.
Today's entertainment is nothing like what we had before. We right now don't have much good storytellers, where it's not just where we have movies and some video games being told with identity politics, but they don't have original ideas either. So they have to rehash, recycle, and remake every popular movie franchise and appeal to a young audience that may not have seen the original movies. One of the great examples is horror movies. How many times have they remade? I don't know. Let's say, well, Friday the 13th or Halloween. They remade Halloween twice, I think, with Rob Zombie. Well, okay, that's not true. Just one time. Remakes usually happens once with every, but you see another movie remade after another movie remade, and so on and so on. So, when you remake a movie, it should be good in its own, but it doesn't always have to be exactly like the original. Because the movies back then had limited technology to make good graphics, but the important was the story. And it worked, and for the time, it was really fresh. And nowadays, not so much. But the only thing that is appealing is better graphics. We have computers to generate some graphical scenes and monsters, or do some stunts that actors don't have to do anymore. That's too dangerous. And I get it, but they should still try and do something original once in a while. So yeah, I think sometimes you find better movies in the past than you have today, unless it's an original idea. Alita was a movie that James Cameron planned years ago, and it got backed up for so long. But it's based off an '80s anime that had I don't know, 2 episodes or just 2 OVAs. I don't remember, but I never knew that, and I want to see it someday. But I love that movie Alita, and it didn't have identity politics. It had a strong female character, but it was well written. It did not belittle any male characters, especially her supporting character that really likes her, or the other way. And it was really well written. And the the cliffhanger. Well, we're looking forward to what happens next.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That what's also the good thing about the past or the the movies back then is you can see so much dedication in each work that it's that put into it to create it. Even though there's a lot of limited resources, that they able to put things together. They able to make things work.
Yeah, sometimes people don't want to invest in their time to research and learn what makes this movie so special, or what this movie is even about. And they may have, and they may have decided to go in a different direction instead of honoring what the lore is about. And here's something that I have always had an opposing opinion on. J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter. She paired Ron with Hermione instead of it should be Hermione with Harry. Her reasons was to exceed our expectations. And I get it, you want to surprise people, but you have to learn that if this works or it doesn't work, that's when you have to decide. Sometimes it's better to not exceed our expectations and just do what fits better, what works better. The formula, or not the formula, the romance between Hermione and Harry seemed to be more effective than Hermione with Ron, because I know that Ron did not have a good relationship, and I just don't think it was a good call. And when they kissed, I felt, where did that come from? I never saw anything develop between those two more than I saw Hermione with Harry. So just because you want to exceed expectations and surprise people, it doesn't mean it's a good move. So some Hollywood producers or any movie makers don't always make good decisions. So I don't know what you can do to have them understand a different our perspective. We as fans always voice our opinions, and they're not always listened to. So sometimes you can't always get what you want.
Yeah. So now, so getting back into the argument, it's just yeah. There's a before I heard that there's some mail that you can mail these producers about your idea. So now it's much more interactive with social media. So um, what do you think? How social media changed the way people interact, especially with this kinds of environment, the environment that the people who are interested in this kinds of media, this form of entertainment that we're really admired or really looking for.
Well, before we didn't have computers that could let you email people. We had regular mail. You send fan letters to
Yeah,
popular people. I know that. You get the opportunity to go see their concert, and then if you're lucky, you get to meet them in person, get a picture with them. I know that was a thing. But when the computers were introduced and you have America Online, it was a big deal to send an email, and you didn't have enough space, but some I don't know, kilobytes, very limited space, and all you could type was words. And it was fine, just send a message and you're all good. But then as things developed, things were getting better. You could send a longer message, you could send pictures, all that stuff. Yeah. And when we were introduced to bigger platforms like Facebook, oh, it was like a new immersive world that you could do so much. Before Facebook, I remember MySpace, and we made profiles. We talked about ourselves. We posted pictures. It was kind of like before Twitter, but it was fine as it is. But Twitter, well, it's like everywhere you go, you could do it. You could keep up with everybody faster. But then when you have phones that were a computer instead of just talking, I think now that changed people's lives more to a point where they're less active outside and more on their phones then. I was realizing that we used to play outside all the time before video games came in the market, especially Nintendo. And now people are talking more about video games and the how to get to this level or get this secret, whatever. And now I think phones have gone higher than what Nintendo did. So you could do everything. And I don't know, how do I feel about social media changing people's lives? A lot of, I would say, a lot of bad. Sometimes we get too invested in the phones. We forget to do other important, productive things. So we think that the internet is great to tell people what you're up to, but it can also be something that people got too overly obsessed with, and is also a dangerous tool when they use this to tell lies. And some people who are gullible to believe those things then turns a lot of situations into ugly consequences. And well, that's what we get a lot from the mainstream media now.
Yeah, the same with here. It's just there are a lot of good things that we can get from it, but there's always some negativities that are associated from it. It's always how it depends on how you are going to use it. Is it for
Oh,
good or bad reasons or
oh, of
whatever? It's
course,
just
of
there's
course.
always there's also you need to keep some limitations at it. Yeah, not fully surrendering to whatever medias that you're going to it with it.
Yeah,
So
I enjoy posting art and looking at art, and then communicating with new people from outside my city, and even international people. I have some international friends, so there's always a positive and a negative. So you don't want to get too absorbed with negativity if you want to have a good time. So always try and find some people to talk to about what you enjoy, and you share videos, you share pictures. You can do what we're doing, video calls. We have Zoom, I mean, and now we can do so much stuff that it's just like we're living large now.
it seems that you're touching upon our next question, which is what are some things about life in 2021 that you like?
That's a difficult question. I didn't have anything going on. We were hit with a pandemic. We're housebounded. We still have to wear our freaking masks. I work outside in the hot sun. It's in the triple digits now because it's summer. It's my worst nightmare. I haven't traveled in a year, and it can really affect you deeply when you can't interact with people physically. It's not always the same when you have technology to help you talk to people. Sometimes you need that physical touch to be connected and feel that void that you're not so alone. And 2020 and right now 2021, it's pretty bad, but not 100%. Some some cities and states have lifted the mask mandates. Businesses are opening again, from what I know. Some of them, not all of them, and we could still go out and interact with people. So I guess 2021 so far, we're in the middle of the year right now. so far things are looking up in regards to traveling and going out and doing stuff normally that we used to before 2020. But we're still seeing other people suffer. So it does make me feel pretty bad and sorry for them. But it's not the end of the world. We'll definitely
Yeah,
see some improvement.
yeah. For me, I guess I don't know. It's just the pandemic really changed everything, especially how things works in the Philippines. We could say that we're on the longest series of lockdowns because until now there are some places that are still in lockdown, especially here where I live. It's near the capital, so we're always being affected by that. And also, it seems that the school year is never ending at all. It's just it's been extending for 11 months right now. So,
School is
but
another
it
thing.
will be over soon.
Yeah. There's an anime convention happening in June, late June, and I want to go so bad.
So with these kinds of uncertain events that took place, so uh, how do you think the world is going to look by the year 2030? So
In
probably
20
9 years from now.
in 2030,
Yeah.
that I don't know. We're probably gonna look back at this year 10 years from now. Um, we well, it's like a crisis that we wish to forget because it really ruined people. But you can't really forget what affected people if it teaches you something. So it's like history. You've always got something to read back to learn what happened there that should not affect you now, but learning from it would help you prevent history from repeating itself. A lot of people have failed to learn that lesson when what we're dealing with in this country and other countries. I'm not going to go into details, but what we're dealing with, we practically are being run by idiots or ignorant people who don't have common sense to think before they act. And so, because they're being told lies by one person and another, and some may not know what to believe, and they let their emotions do the talking for them. And I'm not saying you should ignore your emotions, but as I learned from movies that teach you anything more than what teachers do at school, anger clouds the mind. And I learned that from Ninja Turtles. Sometimes anger would blindside you from doing something that normal people wouldn't do, and you could end up hurting someone you are close to. So it's not that the anger is the bad part, it's how you handle that. And that's a very difficult thing to control. You are affected by something that hurts you, that it makes you want to do something about it, but you also got to think about the situation and your surroundings first and think, how can you accomplish something when you are incapable of doing anything at the moment? And that is frustrating, but you got to be smart about your actions too. And we don't have many smart people, honestly. So we can only hope that we have some smart people to teach the how would you say, the young-minded, the ones who are not mature enough yet to learn how to handle what happened in the past and how to deal with it in the present and prevent the future from ever going down a rabbit hole like that again. So truth has to be preserved, and if the news will keep covering it, then it is up to us regular people. And that's why we have to be thankful for a platform like YouTube to send messages out and show proof of what happened. But if they're going to get like censored, then at least you can have the proof with you personally so that you could one day expose it to people in person. So the important thing is when we look back from 2030 to 2020, we have to do the same thing as teachers do when they teach history. Tell them what really happened. Tell them both sides of the story, so it's not one-sided. It must be bipartisan, and teach them to think for themselves, to learn what really happened and how they feel about it, and then guide them so they would have a good moral conscience of what to do as a decent, civilized person, and then just keep things going forward. Don't let the past affect you too much when you have a future to look forward to, I guess.
Yeah. It's also seems that for now we might not notice things at all, or we just let things happen. But it for now, things that not are really our concern or not that bother at most. That through time we're able to process things out at how important it is. It's just it takes time really to fully get what really it's the thing that happens. Yeah.
I don't know what it is that anime and cartoons teach you better than what real teachers in school does, unless you have a counselor. But it's just that it's difficult for them to be in a situation that you've been in. So you try and find something on TV that has a similar situation. And then when they show you how they deal with it probably teaches you better than what you hope that your parents could teach you.
That's really interesting how these life lessons are included in the shows that you never really expected it. There are a lot of tons of surprise in it.
I'm very grateful and thankful for what we were given um, growing up. I really enjoyed Naruto's moral lessons, Pokemon's moral lessons, and Ninja Turtles' moral lessons. And there's plenty more where that came from.
Yeah, so this might be so where are we originated or something. So
Yeah.
what has life in America has been in the 2020 so far?
What has life in America been? What?
Uh, been like in the 2020 so far?
What can I say? You are in a country full of opportunity, uh, freedom of speech and expression. You're not you're not limited to anything other than doing crime, of course. But we have the greatest economy that other countries are pretty jealous of. We have a system where you can choose what school you want to go to. You have parents that care for you. You have so many. Well, our culture is different, obviously, but it's just so much fun. I guess the best the best way to describe how America's life is like, the best era would be the 80s and 90s. Like, there's always going to be crime, of course, but I mean the stuff that made life so entertaining, the music, the outdoor activities, like you get to go grill barbecue with friends and play music, mingle. There's some I think one of the fun things that was more common when people go out to do stuff, they go to the movies, but they also like going to roller rinks. I think that was a very uh, typical outdoor activity in the 70s and the 80s too. Um, but when we have all these awesome video games, it's all about fantasizing your adventure. As a kid, you always like to play pretend, but when you have video games, you actually see it personally, and then you also get to fantasize with those characters in your own little story. We had great fashion. I love, like, I'm trending 80s so I can dress and look more like 80s. I want to get a mullet for my hair. I need a haircut though. Um, we had like cassettes to record and listen to music. And of course, other countries do the same. But I guess America adapted so much that we invented great things and so many great stories and a lot of outcomes of war that inspired video games to make war games. So there's always going to be when something bad happens, something good happens after that. That was inspired by something bad happening. We have so many horror movies, action movies, sitcoms. Again, entertainment is everywhere, and I guess America had that life far ahead than any other country I know. So it was great.
Yeah, I guess that. Yeah, it seems like that most of the things that you mentioned are also present here, but I guess what's make your country different is that it seems like that most of these things are that we also enjoy here are created in your country, and that it seems like a big kind of legacy or something that are it's really cool that it's where it's originated that other countries that you mentioned. It seems like that they're trying to copy this and or make some things that make some things out of it that they can call awesome because it seems like it's really successful.
Oh, and comic books also. Comic books, superheroes. That's also a culture in America. You know, and I think anime got inspired from comic books too.
Uh, yeah, it's also here. There are also some comic books that where I'm not really able to read them, but there we also talk about our school or something. Some weird Filipino magazines that features these comic books and whatnot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
even if
actually,
I couldn't read or understand, I still like looking at the pictures.
yeah, it's maybe a piece of artifact that to look back at the past.
Totally. Do you have a favorite superhero?
Um, maybe Spider-Man. Maybe because of getting back to those things and rewatching all the movies and whatnot.
Mine would be Batman. I love the Batman animated series.
Yeah, that's also it's also great. I mean, yeah, they used to show it all those shows for here also in the Philippines.
Hmm.
Yeah, so then are you proud to be an American?
Oh, absolutely. Now there were times where I am embarrassed of our country for their bad decisions. Right now, we are a laughing stock, of course, and it makes me feel like we are not the greatest country in the world, but we were and we can be again. But everything that's going on probably makes me ashamed to be an American is far from the truth because I know that what we had before is what made America great. That I still believe America can be great, but what we had still makes me proud to be an American.
For me as a Filipino, I think I am proud to as a Filipino living here in the Philippines, born and raised here. It's just what mostly affects people not only here in the Philippines but also other nationalities. Just we tend to look at a particular flaws because it seems like that this media's tend to just focus on these little small things, and we tend to narrow down our eyes and focus on it and neglect all the other factors that we can only look at to be proud of it.
Yeah, you can't just make something negative impact you to make you already feel like, okay, I don't like being this anymore. It's like you have to learn to fix what's broken that only you know how to fix, and it's not like there's always going to be something perfect. Of course, we're not perfect. You're not perfect, but you can be better and improve yourself from before. And then on one day, you'll get to perfection the way you like it. What I would like someday is to go back to the past, and I mean like the style of how we used to be to have fun. I like to see the stuff that I never got to experience, the clothes, the hairstyle. I miss those classic cars. I like to drive one of those someday, and I would like the movies to come back. I would like some of the old trends to come back, and I like to keep the music alive with older bands that probably don't exist anymore. But their music back then was really amazing. It really made people dance, and they let loose and forget their troubles and have a good time. So that's a good way to make people feel better and enjoy their life. I mean, we have it so much better than other countries that are in a worse situation. And sure, you may feel like you don't care because your situation is in a bad place right now. And, that's fine if you feel that way. But you I wouldn't know how you could, only you would know how to help yourself out, but usually time heals. So when something else happens that's good, it'll make you forget bad stuff and learn to adapt to a new life. So right now, I like to move out of this. I like to move out of Texas to another place so I can start a new life. Because I've been here all my life, and I'm pretty much tired of the desert life, and I like to go where there's more green and more trees. And I think that would probably make my life improve better.
Yeah, maybe the same here. I've been living here for 18 years or something.
Hmm.
Yeah. So, yeah, to get back to what you're talking about, what are some of the top places and time periods you'd visit if you have the ability to travel through time?
Uh, Anywhere or in the U.S.
Yeah, anywhere and anywhere.
I like to go back to Japan. I've been there twice. I like to make friends there, and I like to stay in touch with them. I want to play video games. I want to teach them about American culture that we had in the 80s and 90s. Show them the music and the video games and the movies. I think I would like to see what they think. In the U.S., I want to visit Montana. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe I want to go back to maybe 5 years ago or 6 years ago. I didn't like how how my high school experience ends up. It's not really I'm a loner or whatnot, but I just didn't like how people change and all that undergoing puberty and whatnot. But yeah, but other places that I want to go to, it's maybe in the US or some place like in the Scandinavia, because I'm reading some books that get me interested into the culture, or not exactly to the culture, but to the place and the nature in it.
Yeah. Japanese always choose California because of Disneyland. So I try to tell them there's more to America than just California. I try to recommend Texas to them. They may not be a fan of the desert, but there's a lot of interesting things to look at. There's probably North Dakota. Check out Mount Rushmore. Um, Sometimes they choose Florida because of Disney World. They choose New York, but I wouldn't recommend New York, really. Not safe at the moment, but there's other places. I would like to see if they like to visit Tennessee. It's a country. Yeah, it's a state with country music. um, Oregon has nice lands, but yeah, what I want to do someday is get a classic car, bring a Japanese girl with me, and take cruising with her all over the country. And yeah, that would be so awesome. Oh, and I kind of like to visit Romania and Ireland. that's another place.
Sounds good. Yeah, on the whole, is technology making our world better or worse? Or worse? What would you say?
What was that?
On the whole, is technology making our world better or worse? What would you say?
Oh, technology. I think it's made us a bit more lazy. It's hard to say. Like I said, there's some pros and cons in technology. There's always something in technology that makes things more convenient to do. But the problem is how people get so obsessed with technology. So maybe it's like when you try to say it, guns is bad because, of course, guns kill people. But people argue that they want to ban guns, but what if you're under attack? How will you defend yourself? And they have a gun and you don't. It's not the gun, it's the person that is responsible for the gun, you know? So I guess I'm going to have to say technology does make our lives better if they have all this stuff that makes things convenient. So I'm not going to blame technology for making people lazy, you know? But you can't help it. A lot of people really are too obsessed with being on their phones and checking on their social media and not doing anything that we used to do years ago. So you could say it's easy to just take away the phones and make them, you know, do productive things. We could try that out and see if it uh, affects anything, changes anything. But I don't know if they're gonna. How long can they last? It's like if you want to abduct someone and send them out into the woods with no technology, now they have to live like the Stone Age. So there's this show called Naked and Afraid. Crazy, but you have a man and a woman naked in the wilderness, and you have to survive for a month. No technology. They may be filming you, and don't worry, you're censored, but you got to learn all those things before technology was born. Yeah, can you do that?
Yeah, no, definitely not. That sounds weird.
Neither can I.
Maybe it's cool to get back to where is it? But I guess that it's really what makes technology good or worse. It really depends on how you are going to use it, or how are you going to take over it, or to let this technologies take over you. I guess.
Well, I think the thing that would make technology bad is that they use robots to take over our world. If robots take over our jobs, then it's a problem. It'd be just like the movie I, Robot by Will Smith.
Yeah.
um,
So,
yeah.
so we're getting into the end of the questions we left.
Yes.
So, what major world change or scientific or technological advancement would you like to see occur within your lifetime?
Oh, what technological advancements do I want to see? Time travel.
Yeah, that sounds cool. I
I
mean,
want
yeah,
to
it's
go back
yeah,
to retrieve what I lost back in 2003. But it can be a dangerous thing because people may alter the past, and we don't know what'll happen, how it'll affect the future or the present. If you want to save a life, then does the person rematerialize in the present time? That's what I want to know.
yeah. It's really there are a lot of theories to go back to it, the butter effect and whatnot. It's really interesting how different shows how take on such time travel.
But if that's not going to be possible, then I guess what I'll say is the one I want to see a technological advancement. I want to see like how in Star Trek your molecules and your matter um, like disappears, and then you reappear in a different in another spot and all your molecules are reforming itself. I want to know if that's possible.
Yeah, for me, I guess now that it's been an issue about the bees or about saving the bees, how important they are to our environment, I guess maybe they can build some robot bees or whatever so that they can maybe replace, or if they might get extinct or something, they could be the you could do the work of this the pollinators or something to make things balance again at some point.
Or here's another one. If you like to have a holographic screen appear before you and this keyboard that it's not physical but you can still type with it, that would be total futuristic. Like for example, this screen right here right now is already a solid monitor, but if I were to be interviewed by you, the screen would appear in a holographic image, but it would still work as a computer screen. And then yeah, the keyboard here would be not physical, but like So I think it would be like, I don't know, is it like Star Trek? I know I saw a sci-fi movie that does that, but I can't remember where. But I saw more of it in a video game, and I like to see how that goes. I think technology would follow you everywhere. So someday I would like to see a sci-fi world where all the skyscrapers are everywhere, flying cars, hover cars, definitely, hoverboards, and holographic keyboards and screens. Oh, Star Wars, duh. That's where I saw all those things.
Yeah, and also maybe some floating assistant where you can see come here, or you're no longer need to go to your phone or whatever to look at what you need to do. You need some floating robotic assistant or whatnot. That's also really cool.
Maybe I ought to recommend you watch Blade Runner, the original. I haven't seen it myself, but someday I will.
Yeah, I'll keep that. Thanks for the recommendation.
Yeah.
So, what are some things you haven't done yet but would like to do by the end of this year?
I want to move out. That's really all that's on my mind. But what I want to do, if I didn't need to move out, I just want to play all these games I have here. I still haven't touched a single one, and I could have, but I don't have 100% freedom here to have my own place, no interruptions, no chores, no one to share. Well, I want to share my experience with a friend, but I don't want to. Basically, I still live with my mom, so you could say I'm a toxic fanboy living in my mom's basement. But make no mistake, I still want to be completely independent and not have to worry about someone needing my help or doing chores. And I want to make my life like I'm living in a movie theater with no interruptions or noise, and I can make so much noise myself and make videos, talk about this game, and then give my thoughts on what it could have been done to be better, or whatever. I want to hire artists and freelancers to make a comic from fan fictions that I read, and I want to um, just uh, travel in my own classic car. That's what I want to do. But my priority is to pay my debts and move out of here. That's what I need to focus on.
Yeah, that's also one of my goals, but maybe I'll save it for another year, I guess, because I'm transitioning to college and all that. But probably the most things that I can do for now, I guess, is to start getting on my books to read this 6 volume novel, Norwegian novel that a friend recommended. And it's really life changing for me because I haven't read that much, and yeah, it's also a lot of things, especially in this situation or in this time of life. I need some guidance or whatever it is to fully move to preparation for adulthood or whatever.
Yeah, I wish you luck on that. I will make the most of what I can because I want to make videos soon while I'm still, stuck here. So I do want to. I do plan to play some games. I'm trying to make a list. I'm trying to make my first video, and I will do the best I can. It's just not going to be fast paced because my job right now is so exhausting, especially when you're out in the hot sun. It drains my energy, and I'm so tired.
So we're on the last question for this interview. So and of course, last but not the least, who's better in your opinion, Johnny? Nostalgia critic or the angry video game nerd?
AVGN all the way. I mean,
Yeah, I think
I like the nostalgia critic sometimes, but I got so angry with him when he badmouthed Godzilla in 1998, and I'm sure he wasn't the only one, but his character is so obnoxious and annoying, and he wasn't always fair with his reviews on these movies. But there are some reviews of his that I enjoyed, but only on movies that I don't really care much about. And when he tries to act like a jackass, he can be funny at times when he doesn't take things so seriously or whatever. And it all depends. There's some movies that I liked, and he wasn't too mean on, and I do save those reviews to go back and watch just to be entertained again. So very little he's fair, but most of the time he's not that likable. But still, it doesn't mean his movies aren't entertaining. He made great content back then, but now I think he's trying too hard to do too much on his reviews that I just want him to just make it basic and simple. Review a movie, act like yourself as a nostalgia critic, goof off, and just give a review. You don't need to do skits to make a joke or anything. It's overboard, it's overkill, and it's time wasting, honestly. So the nerd is just we are more we're more in common with video games, and he has that trait to always be angry and curse, but it may not be as funny, but back then he was definitely funny. But his content is always well, he tries. It's like you do your show for many years, it probably loses a lot of how do you say, quality when you're getting older and you're probably not running out of material, but I'm talking about the content of the show. So it's really hard to say if it's going to stay good for who knows how long. But Angry Nerd is the first YouTuber to revolutionize every YouTuber to make videos about things. So that's why he's actually the number one YouTuber in the internet. So it's not just that AVGN is more entertaining, he is the revolution of YouTube, if you know what I mean.
yeah, I think I'll also go for AVGN because I think it's not only, as you mentioned, it's not only entertaining. This because there are a lot of things that I learned from him. That it's not only these trivias and fact, but also how important this era it is, or how those games have become part of a life of our the older generation or the generation before us. Yeah, that's really interesting part of it.
I also forgot to mention he's a fan of horror movies, and it's also thanks to him that I became invested in horror movies. When I was a kid, I was scared by slasher movies because I did not enjoy seeing people get stabbed. And I was a kid. The movie I saw was Scream, and then when I saw Ghostface hang the girl in the tree, that did it for me, and I just stayed away. I kind of had so many bad nightmares, or it was scary. Murderers that way. So I watched more supernatural movies, and then when I start to get back into slasher movies, I see, oh, okay, now it's fake, so it's funnier than scary, but still entertaining. But James Rolfe always went on about how great the story is, so it made me realize that stories do matter. So I got invested in stories too.
Yeah. And with that, we've arrived at our last question of the evening. I like to thank Johnny for joining us today and doing me the honor of serving as this channel's first official guest. I put the links in the description down below, so please feel free to check him out. And any
Thanks.
closing words, Johnny?
I don't have an outro, but when I do, I'll have it in my videos. But maybe if you have a recommendation what I should say in my outro, something to retro content. I don't know. I'm trying to learn slurs so I can say what they used to say because it's not practiced anymore. So, but I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. And if you're interested in checking out my videos, I hope to have more in the future. Let me just get organized with my personal life so I can have more time to do more videos because it's getting I've never done YouTube in my life and making videos is really difficult for me, but I want to do it. So if you stick around and subscribe, I'll definitely have content that you all like because I want to share and trend 80s and bring a lot of nostalgia to your life that makes life much more appealing how it was in the past. So I hope you do subscribe. So thank you so much. And I had a lot of fun talking to you.
So with that, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you on the flip side. So peace. Happy Independence Day.
On the peep side. All right. Happy Independence Day.